Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you're new here, my name is Renata, and this is my houseplant channel. In today's video, I thought I would repot a plant that is currently growing in soil and put it into pond for growing in a semi-hydroponics condition. The plant I chose is a very large, very out of control or living its best life hoya. So before I get started with the transplant, I'm going to show you what it's looking like currently, and then we're going to get started transplanting it. So here it is, the hoya that I'm going to repot, and as you can see, it is quite large. Whee! Quite beautiful with this silver splashing on the leaves, but it just goes kind of everywhere. It's climbing up this philodendron Brazil. It's vining over here up this hoya crimson princess, I believe. It's vining all the way down here. Just out of control. And as you can see, the reason I really need to repot it is it's so top heavy here with the support I have, that I had to prop it up with a tape dispenser behind it to keep it from just toppling over. So that is the reason I'm going to be repotting this hoya. And here we go, a front view of it, so you can see just how full and beautiful it is. So I've taken the plant off the table. I unwound all the vining up the various other plants. So I now have it here with me, but it's still very precarious. And oof, but there she is. She's really quite beautiful. I'm not sure what kind of hoya it is. I think it's a Hoya pubic calyx splash, but I'm not sure. The store I bought it at just had it labeled as a hoya, but I believe it's a pubic calyx splash. So I can see also the leaves are terribly dusty, so hopefully repotting it, giving it a little reset, maybe pruning back some of these vines that are so out of control will help. So the first thing I need to do is figure out what's even going on with it. And while I do that, I'm going to keep it propped up with the tape dispenser, because it is still so top heavy that it'll fall over if I don't have the tape dispenser. So I'm gonna start with these vines, just untwisting them, because maybe you can see, they're all twisted one on top of the other. So we're going to just take our time, untwist, 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 and so on and so forth. So this is going to take me a little while to do, but there's something sort of soothing and satisfying about it, as there is with most plant care. So let's see. Okay, the easy part of the untwisting and unvining is done. I think before I proceed any further, I'm going to prune back some of these vines. There's one I probably will keep because it does have, oh, well, there is a bunch of cat fur. So it does have this little peduncle on it. It didn't flower from here, but I want to keep the peduncle so that it could potentially flower from the peduncle in the future. Yeah, I think before I try to unwind the rest of the vines, the next step is to at least prune off prune back some of these vines and make my job a little bit easier. This is a major project I just undertook for myself. So it's gonna take a little while, like I said, but yes, I will be right back. I'm going to just go grab my scissors so I can prune back these vines and hopefully make my life that much easier. All I'm going to do is prune the vines back. I might even prune off some of the leaves because I can propagate those vines and I don't need this much plant. So snip, snip one, let's see, snip two. So I have some nice cuttings for myself that I will propagate and that I will root in water, and I'm not sure what I will do with them after that. That's a problem for the future. For now, the next step is to continue unwinding, but unwinding around the trellis support that I have on the back of this plant. So you can see the trellis. You can see how wound around the trellis some of these vines are. So again, this is going to be a long, painful process. I'm going to turn the camera off, do the rest of this work off camera, and I'll be back with you in a little bit when I have the trellis liberated and all the vines liberated. What I ended up doing was cutting my trellis in half and then just pulling it out that way, because this is such a jungle that I don't think I'll be able to unwind it without having removed the trellis. So it's sad, but now I have 2 supports that I can reuse somewhere, somehow, sometime for something. And now I should have better access to this plant, to unvining it. Although it's still a giant mess. So I'm still going to do the rest of this unvining off camera, but just so you can see, a little bit how vined together everything is. It's going to take a little while. So I'm going to do the rest of this off camera. And again, I will be back shortly. All right, I am back. I got that all untwisted. I did end up giving my plant quite the haircut. It still has this vine and this vine, but unfortunately it lost some of the splashier leaves. But the haircut is not a terrible thing because I don't need quite that much hoya in my life right this moment. And that is a lesson learned, to not let my hoyas get quite so out of control, especially not if I have them on a trellis and they wind around each other. So now we can get on to the actual repotting that I want to do. And then I'm going to trim up these cuttings that I took off camera again, and I'm not even going to show you what they look like. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my empty bucket where I'm going to dump the old soil. So we have some amount of roots emerging from the pot, but it's not too terribly root bound. But I think it'll be good for this plant. I've had it for about 2 years and haven't repotted it, so I think it will be good for it to have a little repot. So here we go. This is what I'm working with. So I'm just going to loosen all the soil and roots and try to break as few roots as possible.
As you may have seen, the plant pulled apart into multiple pieces. It was actually multiple plants potted together. What I've just been doing this whole time is removing all the soil, or as much of the soil as I possibly can from this plant. Because when you're going from soil into pond or into any semi-hydroponic substrate, whether it's pond or perlite or leca, you want to remove as much of the organic material as you possibly can from the roots so that it doesn't rot or it doesn't cause rotting. So the first step is to just by hand try to remove as much soil as you possibly can. This soil is actually a fairly nice soil for a big box store, and I'm pretty surprised. It has a lot of little wood chips in it, which is good for Hoyas because they're epiphytic plants, so they would grow on the sides of trees, other things of that sort, and attach to them. So yes, that's probably part of the reason the Hoya was so happy, was because it actually had some pretty good soil in it. So that's really nice to know. Anyway, so the first thing you want to do is remove by hand as much of the soil organic material as you possibly can. If there's any rot that you see on your roots, you can also remove the rot. If you see rot on your roots or your soil is just very old, don't reuse it. Otherwise you can reuse it. So especially if you use fertilizer, you can reuse your soil a little bit more. Eventually it will get spent, but I don't know. I've never had trouble with reusing soil, so I do it all the time. Okay, so I have removed as much of the dirt as I can from all the pieces, so they all kind of look about like this. So there still is dirt in there. So the next thing I'm going to do, I would normally just go to my kitchen sink and rinse these roots under the faucet, but for your purposes, for your viewing pleasure today,
I have a bowl of water and I'm just going to dunk the roots and sort of swirl them around gently and try to get as much additional stuff off as I can that way. So again, I'm going to go through this with each of the sections of plant. And generally you want to be as gentle as you can be. I'm being a little bit brutal because this plant is obviously pretty darn tough. Hoyas in general are fairly tough plants in my experience, although I haven't grown a lot of different types of Hoyas, but they seem to be pretty tough. So just kind of gently work off the last bits of soil and other organic matter that needs to come off. There are a few places where I've just ended up breaking the roots because they're so wound around a piece of bark. I know it's not ideal, but having the organic matter in the semi-hydro is even less ideal, so I'd rather give it a little root prune. There's some fertilizer that I want to get out of here. Okay. All right, so we're going to call that section done. And this is about what the roots are looking like. There's still some soil, there's still some organic matter. I can't get it all off. All off of these roots, but I have done the best I can. As you saw, there were a few moments when I just broke the bottoms of the roots off in places. So I think this will be okay. I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to continue on with this task with the other sections of plant. I have finished washing off all the roots as much as I can. So I'm going to get to repotting in a second. I'm just going to clean up some of this mess that I created, because I like to try to have a clean work surface as much as possible. And it'll be less to clean up at the end if I keep it cleaning it as I go. So put my bucket of old soil aside, grab my box of pon, put that top aside, and next I have to decide which pot I'm going to go into. I have one that's about the same size as the pot it had been, and one that's slightly smaller. So I'm going to just pick up my sections of plant at 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. They will fit in there, but they will need, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put them in the smaller pot. So just like with repotting from pon into pon, step 1 is put a little pon in the bottom, and then I'm going to take my plants, and actually I'm going to find the one that has the largest root system. So put that one in first. And then I'm going to work on adding a little pon just to help hold that plant in place. And now I'm going to work on placing in some of the other sections. So there's that section. Section. Actually, this section will go here, and then this one can go in the middle, and this one can stay here. So I'm trying to arrange these sections a little bit the way it had been before, so that you get the effect of all the leaves facing the same sort of direction. And then this last little section up front. Oh, stop falling out. You know what? That last section has such small root system that I'll put it in after I fill a little bit more. So I have made a mess on the floor here. Not too bad, but there we go. And our last little section will go in now. And we just fill in with pon around the plants. Make sure the roots are buried. Because of the sort of piecemeal way that I put this in, and because the leaves are so large, I can't really see if pon is missing anywhere. So I'm just kind of shoving it in with my fingers. To try to ensure that I really have pon everywhere without breaking off yet more leaves. And so we filled in with pon, just like when we were going from pon into pon. Give the pon a little tap and then fill some more. But I think this time I'm not gonna keep tapping and tapping and tapping. I'm going to call that good. And I just discovered I missed a piece. So I think I will just put this piece in a separate container on its own. So let me take the small pot out. Dump that pon back in. Put that aside. Put this aside. Okay. I'm going to go get one small container for this one. And then I will pot it up in pon as well. And then I will show you the final product of both of those repottings and call this video good. And I'm back. I found this adorable tiny little pot. I believe it's a 2-inch pot for that last little piece of hoya. So same process, a little semi-hydro in the bottom, maybe a little bit more. Okay. Oh, come on, you fit in there. Put the plant in and fill in around. So, of any parts of gardening, houseplant care with pon, as you can imagine, the worst part is getting soil off of the roots, especially when you have a very fine root system with lots of hairy little roots. That's sort of the most time-consuming part of this. And then planting in pon is easy, and once you have it in pon, care is a little easier than care in regular soil. I find, watering at least, maybe the rest of the care isn't. So let me just put my pon away, move it off the table, show you first this little guy. So that is what it looks like in its new little home. And I have a couple of different people in mind who I might give it to. So it'll depend on who's interested in it. But I assume someone will be interested. And then my hoya is now looking like this. There is a leaf turned around here. It's this one. You should grow this way. Much better. Okay, so she's not as cute as she had been, but it will fill in. It will get cuter. In fact, I'm gonna just make her cuter right now. Come on, get in there. Obviously, I'm not very gentle with plants. my plants seem to do fine anyway. Okay. There we go. That's a little bit better. Still don't love it, but it's a little better. We still have one nice long vine here. I did end up totally chopping back the vine that had the peduncle on it, but I have it over there to propagate. So hopefully I will get something from that peduncle. And if not, maybe it'll bloom some other time. We'll just have to see. Oops. So yeah, that's how you transfer plants from pon into pon. I'm sorry, from soil into pon. It's a little bit more time consuming than going from pon into pon. There are more steps and more time consuming steps at that. But I think this plant will be happy. Obviously it was happy before, but it really needed to get pruned back. Part of the reason it needed to get pruned back is that I think I'm going to be getting a dog tomorrow. And I did not want to have a small dog in here, or a large dog, whatever size dog I get in here, while I was trying to deal with those vines. My cat is a pretty calm, chill cat. She doesn't go after vines. So I'm lucky. But I don't know. A young dog might think it's a great playtime. And I don't want to find that out while I'm trying to repot this large plant. So I'm very excited about possibly getting a dog. I'm a little concerned about how my cat's going to take it. She doesn't like dogs, but she's going to have to learn. We're going to have to make this work because I want a dog. Anyway, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I think this is the last one I'm going to do in this series on pon and planting things in semi-hydroponic conditions. I will, of course, be mentioning pon and repotting into pon all the time, but this is the last video in the series that I wanted to film. So thank you all. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to hit the like button. If you've been enjoying my content, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.